A very good evening and welcome to Primetime News on TV1 for the Newsfirst. Well, the people come first. I'm Martin Satyanesad.
And I'm Peruni Karnaratna. Here are tonight's top stories.
Sri Lanka's foreign currency sovereign credit ratings rise further. Ali Roshan sentenced to 15 years of rigorous imprisonment. Fine set at 20.6 million rupees. Shashindra Rajapaksa returns to protective custody. 2 special high courts to be established for swift handling of bribery cases. National Cybersecurity Operations Centre officially opened. CEB employees continue work to rule action. Energy Minister vows no acts of sabotage will be tolerated.
On to those stories in detail. Global rating agency S&P Global Ratings has raised Sri Lanka's long and short-term foreign currency sovereign credit ratings to CC+/C from SD/SD, also called as selective default, reflecting the country's steady economic recovery and ongoing fiscal reforms. The outlook on both foreign and local currency ratings remains stable, signaling confidence in Sri Lanka's ability to manage its debt despite persistent structural vulnerabilities.
The upgrade comes as Sri Lanka continues negotiations with creditors on remaining commercial debt, including government-guaranteed bonds of Sri Lankan Airlines, although the agency notes that further resolution appears unlikely in the near term. Most external debt has already been restructured following the December 2024 Euro-bound exchange, yet some holdout creditors may remain. S&P highlighted Sri Lanka's strong economic recovery, accumulation of foreign exchange reserves and fiscal consolidation under the ongoing IMF program. These strengths, it said, are counterbalanced by the country's high debt levels and heavy interest burden, with interest payments expected to reach about 51% of government revenue in 2025.
Case file.
The Colombo Permanent High Court trial at bar sentenced Samara Pulige Niraj Roshan, also known as Ali Roshan, to 15 years of rigorous imprisonment after being found guilty on 2 serious charges, including the illegal possession of an elephant named Singiti without a valid license. In addition to the prison sentence, the court imposed a fine of 20.6 million rupees on the accused. The bench also ordered that the elephant named Singiti in his possession be declared state property. Furthermore, the court directed the Director General of Wildlife to take the necessary steps to implement the order and ensure the elephants are transferred to state custody.
The verdict against Samara Pulige Niraj Roshan, also known as Ali Roshan, was delivered by the Colombo Permanent High Court trial at bar, comprising Justices Manjula Tilakaratna, R.S.S. Sapuvida and Lanka Chairatna. Following a lengthy trial, the bench unanimously found the accused guilty on 2 serious charges. The court also took into account his prior convictions when determining the sentence. Presiding Judge Manjula Tilakaratna, delivering the judgment, stated that the defence arguments presented during the trial were rejected by the court. Quote,
During the trial, the defence presented an argument stating that under the Fauna and Flora Protection Ordinance, only tuskers are required to be registered and that registering elephants is not necessary. However, upon reviewing the provisions of the ordinance, the court held that this argument could not be accepted. Furthermore, the defence argued that the Gazette notification issued regarding the registration of tuskers and elephants had not been approved by Parliament and therefore could not be considered legally valid. Based on this, the defence claimed that charges against the accused could not be substantiated using the Gazette as a legal foundation. However, the court concluded that the ordinance itself does not refer to such a Gazette notification and that the possession of tuskers and elephants requires a valid license. The ordinance clearly stipulates the necessity of obtaining a license to keep elephants in one's possession. Accordingly, the court rejects all arguments presented by the defence.
End quote. Presiding Judge Manjula Tilakaratna stated that the accused, through the verbal statement made during the course of the trial, had effectively admitted to the offence. Quote,
Under Section 22(a)(12 of the Fauna and Flora Protection Ordinance, the elephant taken into custody from the possession of the accused is considered to have been kept without a valid license. Furthermore, the said elephant is interpreted under the ordinance as public property. During the course of this case, it was clearly proven that the elephant was in the possession of the accused. Additionally, through the verbal statement made by the accused during the trial, he admitted that the elephant was indeed in his possession. Accordingly, it has been proven beyond reasonable doubt that the elephant was in the possession of the accused.
End quote. The judge then stated that before sentencing the accused, any mitigating factors that could justify a reduction in the punishment should be presented to the court. At that point, President's counsel Anuja Premaratna, appearing on behalf of the accused, addressed the court and requested that a lenient sentence be considered, noting that the accused had endured a prolonged trial and should be treated with compassion. Responding to this, Deputy Solicitor General Janaka Bandara, representing the prosecution, submitted to the court that the accused should be given the maximum sentence permissible under the law. Quote,
Your Honor, every crime has a victim. In this case, the victims are the animals. Unfortunately, there is a tragic reality here. Animals cannot come before the court to file complaints. They cannot testify. They do not have a voice to speak. They cannot express the pain and trauma caused by these unlawful acts. This case is a landmark one concerning wildlife trafficking. In fact, it is the first case that directly addresses the illegal trade of elephants. Behind this trafficking network are powerful individuals, politicians, government officials, clergy, and even members of the judiciary. It is through the collusion of these actors that this illegal operation has been carried out. Through his actions, the accused has challenged the authority of the law in this country. According to the Fauna and Flora Protection Ordinance, it is mandatory to obtain a license to possess elephants. But this accused went into the forest, captured a wild elephant and kept it in his possession without obtaining any legal permit, in clear violation of the law. He has admitted in his own statement before this court that the elephant was in his possession. As a result of this crime, the elephant has become the silent victim. Justice must be served for the voiceless victim. Cases like this, where such crimes are brought before the law and society, are extremely rare. Therefore, Your Honor, I respectfully request that the accused be given the maximum punishment permitted under the law.
end quote. After considering the facts of the case, presiding judge delivered the sentencing order, emphasizing that the offence committed by the accused was not merely a statutory violation, but a serious criminal act. Quote,
There is currently a serious challenge in protecting elephants living in the wild. One of the main reasons for this situation is the illegal capture of wild elephants by certain individuals. These unlawful activities have become a major obstacle to elephant conservation and pose a significant threat to the country's ecosystem. Protecting the environment is a responsibility of the people, and through the authority vested by the public, the judiciary also bears a duty to safeguard the environment. The offence committed by the accused is not merely a statutory violation, it is a grave crime. The prosecution has reported to the court that the value of the illegally possessed elephant is 6.8 million rupees. Under the Fauna and Flora Protection Ordinance, elephants are also interpreted as public property. Accordingly, for one charge under the Fauna and Flora Protection Ordinance, the accused is sentenced to 5 years of rigorous imprisonment and fined 200,000 rupees. If the fine is not paid, an additional 3 months of imprisonment will be imposed. For the charge under the Public Property Act, the accused is sentenced to 15 years of rigorous imprisonment and fined 20.4 million rupees. If this fine is not paid, an additional 4 years of imprisonment will be imposed. These sentences are to run concurrently. Therefore, the accused is sentenced to 15 years of rigorous imprisonment.
end quote. However, in connection with this case, the 3 other accused, former Assistant Director of the Department of Wildlife Conservation Upali Padmasiri, Palihapitiya Gamage Jayalat and Uchita Nishan Dhammika, were acquitted and released from all charges. This decision was made because the prosecution failed to prove the allegations against them beyond reasonable doubt. Delivering the verdict, Justice R.S.S. Sapuvida, a member of the trial at bar, stated that the prosecution was unable to conclusively establish that the accused had conspired to illegally traffic elephants, knowing that they had been stolen from areas such as Maharagama, Arawala, Navala, Battaramulla and Oruvala between 2009 and 2015. Quote,
To prove these charges, determining the age of the elephant is critically important. This is because the conclusion as to whether the elephant physically examined is the same as the one listed in the license depends on the animal's age. Accordingly, the prosecution presented expert testimony from 3 veterinary professionals to verify the elephant's age. However, one of the witnesses specialized in fish, while another had expertise in livestock reproduction. Upon reviewing their qualifications and experience, the court concluded that they did not possess sufficient expertise to accurately determine the age of an elephant. As a result, the prosecution failed to prove the charges against the accused beyond reasonable doubt. Therefore, all accused individuals were acquitted and released from those charges.
End quote. The Attorney General filed this case against 4 accused, including Ali Roshan, on charges of illegally possessing 5 elephants without valid permits by fraudulently altering the elephant registration book maintained by the Department of Wildlife Conservation.
Case file.
Former State Minister Shashindra Rajapaksa, who was previously arrested by the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption, has been further remanded until the 22nd of September by the Colombo Additional Magistrate Lahiru De Silva. Rajapaksa was produced before the Colombo Magistrates Court this morning by prison officials. The court stated that the decision regarding bail will be considered by the Chief Magistrate on the next hearing date. The case involves allegations that Rajapaksa exerted undue influence on officials of a government office to obtain 8.85 million rupees in compensation for a building and property in Sevanagala, which had been illegally constructed on land belonging to the Mahawali Authority and later damaged during the 2022 protests.
It has been revealed that the substance found buried in a land in Midania and in its vicinity contains methamphetamine, also known as ice. This was discovered during a sample analysis conducted by the government analyst. The relevant sample analysis report has been submitted to the Walasmulla Magistrates Court and the police. Meanwhile, the National Dangerous Drugs Control Board also recently stated that 17 out of the 20 samples of the substance found buried in the Midania land were confirmed to contain methamphetamine or ice.
Meanwhile, Director General of the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption, Ranga Dissanayake, announced the decision to establish 2 new high courts dedicated to handling bribery and corruption cases. Speaking during the Mawatha Vidvat Katikava program aired on Sirasa TV last night, Dissanayake stated that one of these new courts is scheduled to be operational by next week.
All other courts are currently handling various cases, and on behalf of the Commission, I made a formal request to establish 3 dedicated courts specifically for bribery and corruption-related cases. The Chief Justice has agreed to this, and the Judicial Service Commission has approved the establishment of 2 such courts. I believe one of these courts will be operational by next week. This will allow us to expedite trials and, where applicable, impose penalties on those found guilty. Ultimately, it will help us reach resolutions more swiftly. This is exactly what the public expects from us.
The Director General of the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption also commented on asset declarations by politicians.
It is mandatory for individuals to disclose their assets and liabilities. Concealing such information is in itself a violation. Currently, the asset declarations we have published include those of the President, Prime Minister, Ministers and Members of Parliament. These are accessible to the public. If there are suspicions about how these assets were acquired, we are empowered under Section 84 of the Bribery Act to initiate investigations. On the other hand, if someone claims they have declared their assets but in reality they haven't, that's also a concern. Our investigations have revealed that some individuals hold assets not under their own names but under the names of others. Just because an asset isn't declared doesn't mean it doesn't exist. If someone genuinely declares their assets, that's commendable, but if there are doubts, complaints can be lodged or we ourselves can investigate. If the individual cannot explain how the assets were acquired, it could be a punishable offence under Section 109 of the Bribery Act. I believe this is a situation that must evolve. It is what the public expects. If everyone declares their assets and liabilities transparently, corruption can be significantly reduced.
දූෂණය අවම කර හැකි විශාල වත්කම් බැරකම් ගැන ඔය කියලා තියෙනවනේ දැන් මේවා තියෙනවා ඒවා එළියට එනවා ඒවා ගැන සංවාදයට ලක් වෙමින් යනවා ඒක ඇතුලේ පේනවා නිකන් මේගොල්ලෝ මේ වත්කම් මෙච්චර ප්‍රමාණයක් තියෙන්නේ බැලු බැලමටම මේගොල්ලෝ මේවා මාර්ග විදිහට හම්බ කරලා ජීවත් වෙලා ඉන්න අය කියලා ඒක එහෙමද කෙනෙකුට වත්කම් තියෙන්න පුළුවන්
Yes, individuals can possess wealth. Sometimes it's inherited. Asset declarations often include not just personal assets but also those of spouses and children. For example, someone might be a public servant, but their spouse could be a successful entrepreneur with substantial assets. These are all included in the declaration. What's important is that the individual has made the declaration. If someone claims the assets are theirs and has disclosed them, it is easy to verify. If there are suspicions or if someone files a complaint, we can ask how those assets were acquired. That is why the first step is to declare your assets and liabilities. Without that, we can't investigate. The act of declaring itself fosters a culture of transparency. If someone is honest and declares what they have earned, it builds trust. Those who don't declare may be trying to hide something, and we have the means to uncover it.
එහෙනම් ඔවුන්ට හංගන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා. එතකොට අපිට ඒක හොයාගන්න පුළුවන්.
Suranga Vellalage, father of Sri Lankan cricketer Dunith Vellalage, passed away yesterday at the age of 54.
Suranga Vellalage, father of Sri Lankan cricketer Dunith Vellalage and a resident of Moratuwa, suffered a heart attack while watching the Sri Lanka-Afghanistan match at home and passed away after being admitted to the Panadura base hospital. Dunith Vellalage, who was playing in the Sri Lanka-Afghanistan match in Abu Dhabi, was informed of the tragic news by team manager Mahinda Halangoda and head coach Sanath Jayasuriya after the game. Dunith Vellalage and Sri Lanka cricket manager Mahinda Halangoda arrived in the island this morning. The body of Suranga Vellalage, a former cricketer who captained the Prince of Wales College Moratuwa cricket team in the 1992-1993 season, will be placed at a funeral home in Mount Lavinia tomorrow. His last rites will be performed at the Rawatawatha General Cemetery the day after tomorrow. The sudden passing of Suranga Vellalage has drawn widespread condolences from Sri Lankan cricket fans as well as local and international cricketers.
Newsfirst, main sponsor.
A trusted place for your fixed deposits. Valuable FD, 10.25% for 15 months, 11% for 24 months. Valuable FD, the symbol of stability.
The National Cybersecurity Operations Centre was opened in Colombo today under the patronage of President Anura Kumara Dissanayake.
The National Cybersecurity Strategy was launched today alongside the inauguration of the National Cybersecurity Operations Centre at the Bandaranayake Memorial International Conference Hall in Colombo. The National Cybersecurity Operations Centre monitors 37 institutions that maintain critical digital infrastructure, including the Department of Immigration and Immigration, the Department of Motor Traffic and the Department of Inland Revenue 24 hours a day, working to detect cyber attacks targeting them. The strategy aims to create a digital ecosystem that is safe, reliable and inclusive for all citizens. It is being implemented in collaboration with the Sri Lanka Computer Emergency Readiness Team, the Ministry of Digital Economy and with technical assistance from the World Bank.
Through digital transformation, we must convert this fragile state mechanism into a more efficient one, especially in how public services are delivered to citizens. Today, we must acknowledge that our citizens are largely dissatisfied with the public service. To deliver a more efficient and satisfying service, we must design new systems that produce tangible results for the people. There are three key outcomes we must aim for: efficiency in service delivery, transparency in operations, accessibility, ensuring citizens can easily obtain services. While human needs themselves may not change drastically, the way those needs are fulfilled has evolved. New markets are created through new methods of meeting these needs. Today, those methods are largely shaped by digitalization and AI technologies. As a result, the dominant players in today's marketplace are those operating within these digital domains. When we look at recently developed nations and successful private enterprises, it is clear that innovation has been the driving force behind the creation of new markets and economic strength. Therefore, I believe digital transformation is not only essential for national progress, it is also critically important for the business sector.
Minister of Energy Kumar Jayakodi emphasizes that no acts of sabotage will be tolerated within the Ceylon Electricity Board. He says that any protests related to the restructuring of the CEB are being carried out based on political motives rather than genuine operational concerns.
This was an institution that was to be sold and privatized, segmented into 12 entities, and employees were to be sent home. At that time, many people who were not talking started talking, and in such a situation, we have to ask if it is a crime to stop it. As the President said, we will not allow any sabotage in this. This will not be allowed to be privatized. This will not be allowed to be broken up. There is no such thing as privatization here. The Act has been passed and is available in all 3 languages, Sinhala, Tamil and English. We haven't even left a chance for privatization. It is very clear to us that a minority is working to gain political advantage. We will not allow any acts of sabotage under any circumstances.
Under the recently passed Electricity Act, the Ceylon Electricity Board will be restructured into 4 state-owned companies. A significant number of demands put forward by trade unions are requests to guarantee benefits for trade union leaders and their members during the process. These are a few of the demands: obtaining delayed promotions and salary arrears, incorporating the temporary 10,000 rupee allowance into the basic salary as of December 31st, 2023, receiving a 25% salary increment due from the 1st of January 2024 based on that new basic salary along with arrears, removing the maximum limit of 5 million rupees for the voluntary retirement compensation, appointing directors to represent the employees, making all monetary and non-monetary benefits including salaries, allowances and incentives contractual, granting a 50% salary increment on the paid basic salary. The Minister of Energy points out that many of these demands are baseless.
On the 2nd September, we called all the trade unions for a meeting and a discussion. At that time, we presented solutions to every problem they raised. However, since the 3rd, they have sent a new set of demands. 100% of the shares are owned by the Treasury. Some of their demands suggest that they will lose ownership. The ownership of an institution is determined by whether it is private or state-owned. This has been a state-owned entity from the beginning, but after the restructuring, the government's ownership is even more solidified than before. We have not even thought about abolishing a right, nor have we done so. We are very keen for them to publicly state if any such right has been abolished somewhere, as opposed to just making statements for the gallery.
The minister also clarified the accusations levelled against the payment of compensation.
All employees, nearly 21,800 of them, have been informed that they will be assigned to the 4 main companies. For those who do not wish to be assigned, there is a gazetted compensation amount available ranging from 900,000 to 5 million. This was approved by the previous government last year. The amounts were 900,000, 2.5 million or 5 million. This means that higher grade employees could receive up to 5 million, while lower grade employees were limited to 2.5 million. However, we have opened the way for everyone, regardless of their grade, to receive compensation of up to 5 million rupees.
Kumara Jayakodi stated that a separate list of demands has been submitted by senior officials of the Ceylon Electricity Board.
We have also received a list of requests from only the senior officials who have submitted a separate set of demands. We are working with an understanding of the demands made collectively by everyone, and we have identified those that we should implement anyway and are proceeding with them.
For over a decade, across every corner of the nation, reaching out, connecting, serving the people. Countless initiatives, transforming lives, empowering the people, earning respect locally and globally. A service dedicated to you, the people. The pillar that builds the nation. Gammatha, for the people, by the people.
Deputy Minister of Digital Economy Eranga Weeraratne announced that the Sri Lankan government will launch a startup fund in January 2026 to support innovation, attract investment and help local startups scale globally. He was speaking at Disrupt Asia 2025 in Colombo, an event that was inaugurated by the President.
An international summit bringing together business leaders and investors from around 20 countries kicked off in Colombo and will continue until the 20th of September. The event aims to position Sri Lanka as a rising innovation hub in South Asia, drawing global attention to its potential in technology, entrepreneurship and digital transformation.
Sri Lanka has talent and Sri Lanka has ideas, but we often see that we have failed to build our full ecosystem that startups need to scale globally while rooted here in Sri Lanka. Therefore, Sri Lankan history demonstrates that we have significantly failed and we have hurdles in turning innovation into economic opportunity, such as we have limited access to venture capital and risk funding. Also, we have failed to align our academic research with the global demands as well as commercializing those research into the products economy. And also, most importantly, policy bottlenecks that discourage risk-taking as well as getting the right investments coming into the country. As the government, we will be the enabler. We will remove red tapes. We will create the right incentives, bringing investor-friendly policy reforms, and also building the right infrastructure that lowers the cost of innovation. Most importantly, we will act as the catalyst to unlock private capital by establishing a startup fund that attracts both foreign and domestic investments coming into this sector. And also, to that extent, we will establish a fund of funds with initial seed capital by the government, and also from that we are optimistic that this fund will formally launch as early as January 2026. It will create a sustainable platform for our startups and also the R&D and the innovation to flourish while staying in Sri Lanka.
The platform is expected to create opportunities for startups, attract foreign investment and foster collaboration between global and local stakeholders.
MSF Scientific Days Asia 2025, a key conference on community-driven health solutions, was held in Colombo today.
MSF Scientific Days Asia 2025, a landmark conference, brought together researchers, healthcare professionals and thought leaders to explore initiatives and community-driven solutions to emerging health challenges.
In this fractured landscape, the language of science is often dismissed, while the loudest and simplest lie go viral. This is not an abstract debate. It is a life or death crisis for global health. It kills vaccination campaign. It undermines public health measures. It isolates the vulnerable and empowers the deadly. We have gathered here in Colombo under a theme that is just not a slogan, but a fundamental belief: co-creating health, listening, learning and leading. We have operated in a dangerous divide. The fortress of science, speaking the language of data and clinical trials, has too often looked down from its walls. Meanwhile, the communities speaking the language of lived experience and cultural wisdom have been left outside, vulnerable to the siren call of misinformation. Our mission here is to break down these walls, because we cannot defend science from the outside. We must embed it within the community. True innovation is not developed in a sterile lab and handed down. It is forged in partnership with those who will use it. This is about making scientific standards stronger, more robust, and more trustworthy by including the most critical, vulnerable, that is, human context.
At presently, Ministry of Health and MSF are collaborating in few areas, and MSF is contributing to the ongoing health policy development process under the thematics of climate change and quality of care. MSF recently hosted INGO and NGO sectoral meeting for National Health Strategic Plan Development Process of MOH. And in April, MSF, with the technical support of different stakeholders, including the Ministry of Health, conducted a regional climate and health roundtable in Colombo with participation of over 70 participants from more than 7 countries. MSF ready to expand in collaboration with the Ministry of Health in the areas of climate change, emergency preparedness, and quality of care, etc.
IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva has proposed the appointment of Daniel Katz as the first Deputy Managing Director.
Kristalina Georgieva, Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, proposed the appointment of Daniel Katz as first Deputy Managing Director, effective from the 6th of October 2025. The appointment is subject to approval by the IMF's Executive Board. Katz currently serves as Chief of Staff to U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent at the United States Department of the Treasury. He is the principal advisor to the Secretary on a wide range of domestic and international matters. Katz has been central to the U.S. government's international negotiations, including with China.
In the international news, the United States once again vetoed a UN resolution demanding an immediate, unconditional and permanent ceasefire in the Gaza Strip, following a vote in the Security Council on Thursday. The negative vote was cast as the 15th Member Council held its 10,000th meeting against the backdrop of famine spreading in the besieged enclave and an ongoing Israeli offensive to take full control of Gaza City.
A draft resolution demanding an immediate, unconditional and permanent ceasefire in the Gaza Strip was put forward by the Council's 10 non-permanent members: Algeria, Denmark, Greece, Guyana, Pakistan, Panama, Republic of Korea, Sierra Leone, Slovenia and Somalia. The resolution also demanded the release of all hostages held by Hamas and for Israel to lift all restrictions on the entry of humanitarian aid and ensure that it is safely distributed to the population, in particular by UN agencies and partners.
First, an immediate, unconditional and permanent ceasefire in Gaza respected by all parties. Second, the immediate, dignified and unconditional release of all hostages held by Hamas and other groups. And third, that the government of Israel immediately and unconditionally lifts all restrictions on the entry of humanitarian aid into Gaza and ensures its safe and unhindered distribution to the population in need of such assistance in line with international humanitarian law.
U.S. opposition to this resolution will come as no surprise. It fails to condemn Hamas or recognize Israel's right to defend itself, and it wrongly legitimizes the false narratives benefiting Hamas, which have sadly found currency in this council. Council members ignored when the United States made clear that this resolution was unacceptable. The council instead adopted for performative action designed to draw a veto that extends Hamas terrorists and those who fund them and support them and gives them a lifeline.
The draft resolution has not been adopted, owing to the negative vote of a permanent member of the Council.
Babies dying of starvation, snipers shooting children in the head, civilians killed en masse, families displaced again and again from ruins to ruins and from death to death. UN personnel and doctors and humanitarians and journalists targeted. Devastation and destruction rained down pulverizing an entire society. And Israeli officials openly mocking all of this and praising the real state value of Gaza. This draft resolution represents the bare minimum that humanity, legality, and morality dictate. It is deeply regrettable and painful that it has been blocked. No matter how many tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of soldiers, they cannot erase from the face of earth a nation, the Palestinian nation, nor will they be able to succeed in eradicating tens of thousands, millions of Palestinians. We are here to stay, and there is no power on earth that will negate our existence. So for those who are living in denial and drunk with their ecstasy and victories, wake up. The only road is the road to peace. The only road is the road of the two-state solution, to live next to each other and peace and security. We are committed to that. The whole world is committed to that. There is only one party, led with group of fanatic leaders who are refusing to accept that, and they are trying in a futile exercise to eradicate the existence of the Palestinian people and their national rights, including their right to self-determination, statehood, and the right of the refugees.
I know many of you are serious diplomats, yet by endorsing a draft resolution that dares to imply Israel is starving the people of Gaza, you echo the propaganda of Hamas. Ask yourselves, is that truly a choice you are prepared to defend? Is that the part you wish to play, reciting their script rather than speaking the truth? Facts are facts. The crossings are open. Humanitarian aid is moving into Gaza through 4 active entry points. Yesterday alone, on Wednesday, September 17th, 226 aid trucks entered Gaza, and 550 Gazans were evacuated for life-saving medical treatment.
Tech giants Nvidia and Intel have announced a partnership to jointly develop a new generation of custom chips for data centers and personal computers. The collaboration aims to combine Nvidia's expertise in artificial intelligence and graphics with Intel's powerful CPU technology to create faster, smarter computing systems.
Tech giants Nvidia and Intel have entered a product development partnership to design 2 new collaborations between Intel's x86 central processing units and Nvidia's graphics processing unit technology. As part of the deal, Intel will build custom x86 CPUs for Nvidia's AI platforms used in data centers. For personal computers, Intel will produce new chips that combine its CPUs with Nvidia's RTX graphics technology, offering high-performance solutions for gaming, content creation, and productivity. To support this partnership, Nvidia will invest $5 billion in Intel by purchasing shares at $23.28 each, pending regulatory approval. Nvidia dominates high-end AI and graphics, but it has struggled to break into the broader PC and small server markets, areas where Intel has deep relationships and infrastructure. By partnering with Intel, Nvidia gains access to Intel's distribution channels, integration into the x86 ecosystem, faster entry into markets that would take years to build alone. This partnership reflects a shift in the semiconductor industry. Instead of every company trying to build everything on its own, we are seeing strategic specialization, where companies focus on what they do best and collaborate to fill the gaps. This move could influence other players like AMD, Qualcomm, and others to rethink their strategies and explore similar partnerships.
Finally, in your sports news, Sri Lanka defeated Afghanistan by 6 wickets to qualify for the Asia Cup Super 4 stage, eliminating their opponents in the process.
Nuwan Tushara got Sri Lanka off to a brilliant start, dismissing Afghanistan's top order for just 40 runs. Experienced campaigner Mohammad Nabi was the pick of the batsmen for the Afghans, scoring 66 runs off 22 deliveries. Afghanistan ended the first innings on 169 runs for the loss of 8 wickets. Chasing a target of 170 runs to get over the line, Sri Lanka lost their first 2 wickets for just 47 runs. Kusal Mendis anchored the chase for Sri Lanka, scoring an unbeaten 74 runs off 52 deliveries. His innings included 10 fours. Kamidu Mendis was unbeaten on 26 of 13 deliveries. Sri Lanka chased the target of 170 runs off 18.4 overs for the loss of just 4 wickets. Sri Lanka's victory also ensured Bangladesh joins them in the next stage from Group B, alongside Group A qualifiers India and Pakistan. Sri Lanka will take on Bangladesh tomorrow in the first game of the Super 4, followed by Pakistan and India on the 23rd and 26th of September. Meanwhile, India are taking on Oman in their last fixture of the group stage at Abu Dhabi. All matches of the 2025 Asia Cup T20 cricket tournament are being broadcast live on TV1, the official local broadcasting rights holder, and streamed on www.sirasatv.lk.
From that, we bring to a close this edition of Primetime News on TV1.
Thank you for joining us. Good night.